start with the previous session slide only, because today's session is related to the recording, sorry, the requirement gathering and the understanding of the business process. So if you don't understand the business process, what will happen? So I'll tell you all these details. Just give me 1 minute. I think it's send. Anyways, okay, leave it. Okay, I'll share my entire screen. We can. You are able to see my screen, right? Now. So what we'll be doing today is we'll be seeing that in this last session we saw the SAP methodologies of a greenfield project, right? The plan, run, activate, all these methodologies we have gone through. So now comes the part which is common in both the methodologies. That was the business blueprint. Okay, first initialization in the ASAP and the prepare in the SAP activate. Everything is same. What we are going to do is we are going to check the business blueprint. So business blueprint is to sit with the customer. The workshops are needed to be done. Understanding of the business process, right? So I've not prepared any presentation for the day because it is pure business knowledge. So we'll be covering all these parts from the Google only, because how you need to do it is same for all the softwares, right? I told you about software development lifecycle, SDLC. So the basics of the SAP methodologies, the sitting with the customer, all this will come handy. All this knowledge will become coming handy based on the workshop. So what are workshops? So I gave you one example that when I reached the client's location, I saw my peers having a discussion with the client. Okay, so the MM and FI guys, the specialist people, what they'll do is they'll go with the accounts team. The FI will sit with the accounts team. MM will explain what a valuation class is. So you need to know the basic difference, how the questions will be asked by the users, and these understanding of the business is needed to be done. So let's suppose I'll give a good example of a construction company. So this is one of the companies I had one interview with. So this is based on Noida. It's it is also having uh, some real estate business in the Gurugram region. So in Noida, I think sector 143 something on the high veneer Amity it is there. So M3M they construct, right. They construct their SAP got implemented and they construct their development business. So they have 4-5 sites. So how the business is working, right? You need to know how the business is working, how a cement industry is there. 1 second, let me accept. Okay. So this is MTM Group, right? They this is an MNC, so they are based out of Dubai. The main headquarters in Dubai, or the Middle East part. So M3M India. 1 second, let me. So M3M India has developed a lot of size skyscrapers and a lot of residential buildings. They're big, right? They're big real estate developers. So sometimes what will happen is you will get to the core team, or uh, you'll get better at the in-house consultant team, right? So all these roles are also important. So what will happen? How do you understand the business? So where are the pipes coming from? So let's say cons so this is a construction company. I'll give you a construction company example. Construction. 1 second, I put start. Construction company business. Okay, so what happens is they'll have some yards, they'll have some development sites, and the cement will be coming in from, let's say there's a separate plant, right? They will be having contracts with the ACC. So they might be having the ACC warehouse, right? So they'll have a consignment. You know about consignment. We have already discussed about consignments. So they'll have a consignment warehouse might be there of ACC or a Tata Steel there's a steel company called Tata Steel. So Tata Steel is one of the biggest supplier in India and Russia. So what they do is they manufacture steel, all these big steel pipes are there, steel rods that are going in the concrete pillars to strengthen the pillars. And what happens with this, that they will have uh, an influx of these steel pipes or steel whatever rods are there. So what will happen, you need to understand the business, so how the business is there. So in this development you will use some machineries, right? These are equipments, you can see big cranes, these are equipments. So how this is going to happen, a PM person will come, right? These equipments are going under IE01. So IE01 is for equipment master, so it'll create equipments. How it is going to link, so equipments are not a part of inventory, so there is a thing called the capital goods, right? So we'll discuss once capital goods. So capital goods are the, okay, let's google it. Okay, so capital goods are the goods that are physical assets that are used in the company for production processes. Okay, so let's say you have a crane. So what good is a crane doing, right? Crane is not helping you in any way. It is just for the excavation, or it is just for the lifting up big blocks. It will help in the production, but in case of bankruptcy of a company, it can be sold. So these are just assets which are helping in the overall working of the company. So this is one of the capital goods, right? So whenever you go to a construction company, you'll have all these big crane lifts, right? Forklift or crane lifts will be there. So this is one example of the construction company. I think I gave an example to Abdul in a informal discussion. So I gave example of GT transformer, right? Okay, so this is an equipment. Okay, 1 second. So this is not an actual transformer. This is Transformers cartoon. Okay, TD motor generator. Okay, so I think this is the big motor, right? This is a CAT company's motor. So what will it do? So this is just an equipment. So it will have some parts, right? It will have some sub assemblies or all these parts. So in PM module, they will encounter all these engine, the generators, all these not capacitor, all these transformers will be there. So big transformers are there, and I saw one EPC project. So I gave you one example of EPC before. So EPC is engineering, procurement, and construction. So what happens is, like, in EPC, you will have one company, a big company. Let's say L&T Construction is there, right? Or L&T Group is there. So your client will give a contract to L&T. So let's say you are part of L&T. So what you're going to do, you will understand the business, right? So L&T has IT, it has constructions, it has the finance departments. So EPC contractor are nothing but they will construct everything. They will charge you basis on the types of services they are giving. So what they will do is they will go back to the plant. They'll construct your building and all. So in that process, what happens is when you're getting big items like the machineries, all these capital goods are you're getting, right? Without capital goods, like the excavators, or without having any building or any place to construct the building, you will not have the EPC contract. So this EPC contract will give you services, and those services, what will happen, there will be a big items. So I saw one item for that. It took 20 or 22 days just to bring it from 500 kilometers away, because a lot of road clearances needed to be asked. Like, the government is there, and there are police, right? So police will this they will cover the way, so nothing gets in between. So there will be big trucks, like the lorries, you might know, if somebody knows the local language for the trailers. So it's a, I think, 24 or 30 wheels trailer. So it's a very long trailer, and they will bring long, huge uh, steel equipments, or these frames. like they will assemble on the client's location. So that is one thing. And if you saw the construction of this bridge in I think California, it's there. I think the Golden Bridge. One second. Yeah, San Francisco, not California. Okay, same I think. So this Golden Bridge, right? So when you see this Golden Bridge, you can imagine, right? You can imagine one big bridge that is being built. So how it is going there? This all this item, it is not made in a single piece. So first they will use the concrete blocks, right? They'll put the cement, they'll put all the steel pipes. So you need to understand the business, whoever the construction company is. So basically your line will be construction, electrical, or all these then you will put then you will ask the client, there will be questionnaires that what are you doing or what is the process. Are these service for the are the services in house, or are you using the external procurement, or all these questions are needed to be asked, right? So for this, in this particular case, what they have done is they have used all these big pillars or these big cement blocks. Then they have used the steel, right? So how they use the steel and what is the timeline and how you are going to procure it from the vendor, all these they have done. And each component, right, there is will be a particular slab, right? Like this slab will be put first, then the next slab, then the next, then all these will be done, the big pillars. And this is one single piece. So how will it be procured? All these is needed to be asked to the client first, and as much as questions you can ask, it will be much better. So we're here, one second. Yeah, so we're on the capital goods, right? So for this, for lifting all these, you will need capital goods. So this capital goods, how many capital goods you have, right? What is the total count, or which kinds of capital goods you are having? Then there is one thing called mandatory spares, right? One second, mandatory spares. Okay, in SAP MM. So what are mandatory spares? So we can check. So mandatory spares, I think it is related to plant management. Okay, mandatory spares are the spare items. So it is just like the normal spare items. So there are the spare items that are given by the client. So client, what client is doing, like they'll create a new project, right, or a new building. So as okay, I think I closed that slide. So close that window. So let's say you have you have one new project coming. Project means a building coming, or a new EPC contract is given, right? So what they will do is, for the smooth functioning of the machinery or of the working of the plant, like in my case, I am working with the power generation corporation. So what they are doing is, for the smooth functioning of that power generation corporation, they gave the EPC contract to L&T Constructions. So what L&T did was, they made the erection. They built the company from sorry, they built the power plant from scratch. Then whatever machinery, like the turbines, right? The turbines are required. They will have some spare items. So let's say there is a shaft. Shaft is considered as spare. So they will have the mandatory spare items. So spare items, mandatory spare, are free of cost. They are charged. They're obviously charged. Anything that is there will obviously be charged, but they're included in the cost of the EPC contract. They will not be counted twice. They will come after 4 or 5 years, even after the plant is live. They'll come even after 4 or 5 years also. But they are very critical for the normal functioning of the machinery. So I think they might have written. So this is a SAP community blog. So yeah. So mandatory spares are assets, right? This is an asset. So asset means, okay, I'm not sure it is a fixed asset. It is not a fixed asset. So fixed asset is something else. I'll also explain you that. So all these fixed assets, this mandatory space is one thing that you should ask before everything. You should ask this before. Okay, I'll tell you before this. I'll tell you mandatory space. So mandatory spare, we can also check here. So these are spare part planning. What we have to do. So to optimize the inventory, we need to do spare part planning. This is one thing. And then we have business criticality. So if you don't if you don't have the mandated spares, what will happen? Let's say there is a wear and tear in the turbine division, or there's a wear and tear in the electrical division. So what will happen? So there are this big turbines, right? I gave example of GT transformer or the rotor. So what will happen if you don't have the shaft, or if you don't have the particular mandated spare? The plant will need to be shut down. So each unit is 270, oh sorry, 220 kilowatt, right? Megawatt. 1 second. 220 megawatts. Okay, so that much power is like okay, I think it's 1 million watts of power. So that power will be sufficient to electrify uh, 3.5 or 4 cities. Approximately 3.5 cities will be electrified by 220 megawatts. This is just the one unit. So my client is one of the biggest and the most profitable in the entire state of UP, and even in India, it's the fourth most profitable company. So since it is a Genco, they'll generate this power, and each unit is the lowest unit is 220 megawatt. They are very old. They are from 1980s or 1990s. Some all these are operating. Okay, let's get back. So what happens with the mandated spare is if you don't use it, sorry, if you don't uh, know what is the planning, or if you don't have the actual inventory, then this will create ruckus in the actual implementation of the project. Then there is asset. So we saw this blog, in which it said that it is the asset. So I'm just giving the basic definitions right now for just the requirement purposes. We'll get into the requirements after 5 minutes. So assets meaning. Okay, so this is one term in the accounting you will get very close to while working in a SAP implementation or SAP support. So assets is like just that anything that has value and can be used to generate revenue. So like uh, okay, or there are other definitions also. They are resource owned that is controlled by an entity. So and it can also be considered as current fixed or financial intangible. All these are types of assets. We only need to check the fixed assets, right? And SAP you will only deal with the fixed assets, nothing other than that, right? So we'll have assets. So assets is governed by, there's a T code. Let me show you that also. AS01 is the name of the T code, asset master, right? So there are other T codes also, asset explorer. We'll not go into very details of all these. So what are assets? So assets are basically the materials that will help in the company's governance. Governance as in desktops, right? Desktop are assets. So 1 second, I think the password changed. What am I using? Caps lock. 1 second, give me 1 second. No, okay. Maybe someone changed the password. Okay, not logging in. Let's leave this. Okay, so there's a T code called AS01 in SAP FI. So with this, what you can do is you can create an asset master, right? So with this, you will have different views. If I show you the image, there will be some views in the asset master. So this is asset class, company code. You don't need to go into a lot of details. So what happens in an asset is, second. So what happens in an asset is that you will need to capitalize. So capitalize means then when you do a GR, right? We use account assignment category as A. I'll give you a short PPT, I think, after this. I am not prepared any PPT today. So this is account assignment category A, right? 1 second. It is not there. Okay. It is item category. Okay, so account assignment category A means your assets. So this is the asset when you do. I'm not sure where is that. Yeah, fine. So if we check right here, you can see A as an assets. So when you take A and you do a 101 with the assets, so what will happen? It will directly go to the asset accounting, and you'll need to create an asset master. So I'll take one similar case after this session, like tomorrow maybe. So you'll get a brief overview how this asset is done. Then let's get back to the issue. So what is asset, right? So asset is just how a company is governed. So you'll have mandatory spares, and mandatory spares are needed to be uh, converted into assets. So how we'll convert? We'll do a 101 with the assets. That's it. Simple. So just you need to know what are assets, what are fixed assets. So company fixed assets. Whenever your company will implement SAP, so your client will implement SAP. So before SAP, they were using legacy system. Not everyone had computers, or not everyone had all the infrastructure. So they will give one infrastructure contract to, or infrastructure deal to, some vendor. They will come and implement. They will use all these. So they will do the GR with 101 as an asset, right? So this is the basic 2 3 things that I wanted to explain. Then let's come into the things that what is requirement gathering questionnaire. Okay, let's. Okay, I think we can include one more thing: requirements gathering in SAP MM. So what we are going to do is we'll go to SAP community. So SAP community, this blogs are very helpful, right? You can check this one, or you can check this one. So this is the latest blog. So 1 second. Yeah. So this is the latest blog of 2023. So you can check what is requirement gathering. So they have referred to SAP threads, right? So it is very clear and concise. Okay. So they have used that you need to define plant, you need to sit with client. All these material master will be given, right? So I remember uh, how I did with my client. I don't have that document because I cannot take due to the uh, IT policies. I cannot take any UAT or SIT documents. I'll try to take one. I think I have some old documents. All these documents, I'll try to pull it out from my PC if possible. I don't have any, so I cannot show you any real scenario based on that. But yes, so there are some basic things, right? So this guy has given some step-by-step things that when you sit with the clients, you'll need to get some enterprise structure configuration, right? You know what is an enterprise structure by now. That will define the client. Then under the client, you'll have the company codes, then plant, then your store locations, right? And just above the plant, you'll have the standard reference purchase organization, right? So all these will be your enterprise structure. So they have defined the assignments you also need to do in MM. Then the number range. Then you will have the material master data, the purchase requisition configs. Then all these configuration, planning configuration, MRP, storage location types, all this will be there, right? So you need to understand the business process first. Then get a list of materials they are using, right? So there's a thing called data segregation. So data segregation, like uh, let's say you have pipes and fittings. So it will come under a separate category. So SAP gives all these pipes and fittings, right? Like we have big pipes, like a long length of pipes. So they will be like stretching around 100 or 200 meters per pipe, right? So they have steam, right? All these boilers will have steam. So steam doesn't pass through like like you boiled some water and it went, it will go into steam. It will not go directly into the turbines. Then the turbine will damage. The steam is needed to be dried first. So there's a thing called dried steam. So when the water is boiled in a boiler, the steam will go upwards. It will go into pipes, different pipes, and the pressure is needed to maintain. So there is a thing called I'm not getting the term. Say in if you don't maintain the pressure within 10 minutes, right? If the pressure goes too high, the plant will burst, right? So the criticality is very high. The people in these plants might face accidents if they're not very cautious. So the whole unit will fail, entire unit will fail. The plant will be shut down for 1 2 months. There will be loss. There will be loss of capital. The client will face financial losses. So all these groupings, right? The pipe fittings are needed to be in particular material group, right? So you'll need to sit with the client. You'll have to identify what are the material groups they are using, what is the master data preparation, right? So there will be some data, master data. So there is a vendor that we utilized, DDC. Some vendor was there. So they have team. They digitalize the data. So whatever PDF or PPTs or whatever documentation you have, or they will convert everything into Excel. So a typist will come. They'll type I think 2,000 or 2,500 words per 10 minutes or 30 minutes, anything in between that. So they will copy paste all the data to an Excel. They'll give you the Excel. Then you need to give it to your MDG partner. MDG will be the master data governance team. So if there is a MDG module, it is very better. It will be helpful for cleansing the data. Otherwise, in you can also clean the data, but I have gone through the same activity. My data isn't clean, very clean. And in EY, I've also seen in Tata Steel. So Tata Steel gave different plans to different companies for implementation. So in Tata Steel, the master data is not clean. It's not very clean, but it is cleaner than mine. Okay, so so the client, it depends on the client. You need to prepare the necessary master data, right? So there will be a nomenclature for all the materials. First the name, then there will be some internal coding. Then after that, it will have the last capacity of the transformer or whatever generation unit is there, right? So all these will be needed to be taken care of. Then there is a as is and to be document. So as is means what will be the uh, system is right now. So I'll give you one requirement. So the requirement was like that they have the current system and they are using a process called gate pass. I'll show you the gate pass SOP. I have those SOPs. So gate pass is nothing but the client, you what you used to do is they have gates, right? So I'll come back to this as is one second. Okay, so we need to know the client's expectations, the processes, and key business consultant and end user. So this means the business consultants means the core users, the core team, right? Whoever will be reporting, and the end users. So let's get back to the client expectations. So with client expectations, we need questionnaires. So we need to have questionnaires. So I have already prepared one sample. I think here is the questionnaire. Yeah. So this is one questionnaire. You can ask all these questions. So I'll give you the link, or I can mention all these, right? So what is the value of the material? You'll have the same material in different plants, or how will be the valuation? Will the valuation be different, right? So I gave you one basic configuration about the OBYC that related to the valuation grouping code. So if the valuation grouping code is changed, the valuation of the material will be changed, right? If you want the same valuation, how do you need to define? You need to define the valuation at the company code. Or how do you, or do you need the valuation at the plant level, right? All these are needed to be taken. Will the negative stocks be there? So there's a thing called negative stock handling. So it is nothing but just a tick in the material master and configuration. Just two simple ticks are there. You need to activate, and the metal can be consumed even before they are received, right? So in critical business process like FMCG industries, you will have negative stock handling. So let's say you are working with Nestle. So Nestle is using is making this. product. uh, let's say they're making a cream, or they're making some, not cream, sorry, so they're making jam, right? So they might need some jelly. So but the delivery is not come yet, but you need to show that you have already created some batches and you're doing good in production and all these. So you'll consume, and the when the batches actually come after a day or two because of the failed delivery, or some issue would be there, right? The tire got punctured. So the next day it will come. When the jellies will come, you'll do a stock entry consumption that 201 is done, we have consumed it, and it will balance out. So negative delivery, if it is there or not, there are special plans for maintenance work or not, all these are the question as, right? Purchasing, you need to ask your clients, so you should already know that what are the common questions, right? Do you negotiate with the vendor or not? Do you have a corporate or localizing purchasing functions? Corporate means, have you do you have a separate team, or do you localize the purchase? Localize means, are there separating purchase groups, or are you purchasing centrally, right? All these will be there, right? Then you have store locations. So then the physical inventory, one concept, physical inventory is also there. Are there any hazardous substance? So I think there are 12 categories of hazardous substance. So when you go into shipping industry, let's say there's a company called Merck's, Maserk, I think. Maersk something. I think, okay, Merck, some companies there, Merck Shipping, right? So when they ship, right, there are 12 types of different containers. So they'll categorize each category into hazardous. So you might remember the blast in the Lebanon. So in Lebanon port, there was some shipping container that was having ammonia. So ammonia, this tanker got old, right? And the company that was having the contract got bankrupted. It defaulted on the loan. Nobody came, right, for 5 years to check on that. And for 2 3 years it was on the yard only. It was going to sink. The ship was going to sink. So what they did, the Lebanon authorities, what they did was they kept in a warehouse, and that got exploded, right? One second. Lebanon explosion. I'm not sure which year was it, but it happened. Yeah, Beirut, Lebanon. Beirut is a port. It's a very busy port, right? So it costed millions of dollars. So a large steel frame building was exploded. Why? Because this port had this explosives. They were there, right? It was the largest non-nuclear explosion ever to be encountered. So are these substance hazardous? All these questions you need to ask with the client. One second. So there are 12 categories in the, like, how do you define, right? So all these store location configuration you need to do. I'm not sure where this is mapped, but with the material it might be there. So we can create separate store locations if the substances not to be used very often, and all the chemicals, right? Like with the air your potash, you can potassium also you can say. So this, it reacts with the air, right? If you put one droplet on the potassium, so it will burst into flames, right? It gives exothermic reaction. It has a lot of heat. So all these chemicals, if they are reactive or they are explosive in nature, it needs to be stored separately. Then I think they missed one thing. There is a configuration also called SLED indicator, right? Shelf life and expiration. One second. SLED in SAP MM. So what we do is, so we have shelf life expiration date, right? In batch management, whenever we have batches, so for all these we'll create one SLED. So SLED indicator is nothing but your shelf life expiration. So they'll put SLED dates. I think this is the configuration. Yeah. Okay. So this is the basic. I'm not sure, they are not given the configuration. Okay. So it is very basic configuration. Just the even the end user can map the SLED. So you just need to activate it. That's it. So SLED, what they will do is they will they'll go and they'll check if the metal is going to be rotten or it is spoiled or anything. So chemicals have a shelf life, like chlorine or potassium. All these will have shelf life. Let's say you're working in a hospital, right? So they'll have medicines. So this Fortis or this pharmaceutical industry, what they'll do is they will have a shelf life of medicines. So you need to ask the clients like, what is the shelf life? How will you maintain? Will you maintain shelf life or not? What will you do after this medicines comes back? How will you take in the stock, right? So what some companies does is they'll crush all the existing medicines. So I'm not very sure, but I've read in on some news article that uh, let's say there's a piece that is selling for 10 rupees per tablet, right? So if a strip has 100 and we get only two back and they're now expired, so uh, will not pay the person, the pharmacy 10, will only pay one-fourth or one-fifth of the cost, because those medicines will have the same formula. Will crush them, will them with the uh, newer batch, and their expiration will be restored. There is a process, some roasting is done for this uh, medicine. I'm not very sure. I'm not from medical industry, but you can also check with your client, right? If you go into medical industry, it is something that you should be aware about. So I like to read about different industries. I've gone for this construction, electrical, and the generation, right? I've not worked with medical, so I don't know, but you can always check, right? So you'll have uh, if there is an inspection plan, right? What happens if the metal becomes defective? How will this work, right? So all this is needed to be taken care, right? Okay, one second. Okay, yeah. So this is one of the business processes. Now let me stop sharing. You can ask your questions. I'll share once again. Just give me one second. I'll try to show you one requirement, right? This one requirement was given by a tax skills guy only from the group. So what they did was they asked about a challan process with the subcontracting. You know subcontracting, right? Normal subcontracting, everyone knows. Not sure if that went. You can ask questions, please. I'll take 1 second. Okay, let me reshare again. So this was one of the requirements given by a client. Okay, so in SAP standard, it is already there. So this is a subcontracting process with GST as applicable in India. So let's say you are working in Indian clients. So GST is the single tax that is applicable now. So there's only one tax. You'll not be taxed twice. So this is implementation with the rules that were initiated by the government of India, so from the central government. So what GST does is, let's say you're selling into interstate, right? So this is basic GST knowledge. You're selling into interstate, then what will happen? So you will have two taxes, right? You will have two states. So the central component is fixed, but which state will get? So whichever state is selling, right? So they'll have to pay the taxes. So not selling, sorry, whichever state is getting the profit, right? So whichever state is getting the profit, they'll have to pay the taxes. So it is the part of GST, right? So in the concept of reconciliation of challans, so this is one thing, challan reconciliation, right? So when challan is reconciled, so reconcile means you will have a delivery challan, right? So whenever you order from, there's a good food delivery app called Fasos Rolls, or this uh, Bikage. I'm not very sure, but Eat Sure is the name of that app, right? So they have 5 6 uh, cloud kitchens. So what they do is they prepare delivery challans. They will not give you invoice. They'll prepare delivery challans. So no matter which state they're working, they'll only give delivery challans. So the tax is going only to the person who is in the same state. Let's say if I'm ordering from UP, so they'll give me delivery challan. So they need to reconcile all these challans, right? So how many deliveries they have given, or let's say in a not in a food industry. Let's say you are in a FMCG industry. You are the manufacturer of Coca-Cola. So what will happen is in India, Varun Beverages is the manufacturer of Coca-Cola and all these products. So what they will do is they will send it to Haryana, right? So let's say you have a plant in Delhi, and now you want to send it to Haryana or you want to send it to Bangalore. So you'll get a delivery challan, right? With delivery challan, there'll be the amount that is there. The delivery challan is not the invoice; it is just the reconciliation kind of invoice that you give into two plants. So the process is there. This was client requirement, and SAP has included this. So with the GST of India, so after this only they came with this concept. Before that, in ECC, it was not uh, readily there, right? So with the delivery challan, you'll make the 541, right? Till this point, it is same. Then you just need to go to the delivery challan. This separate T code subcontracting delivery challan reconciliation. And when you do the GR, the delivery challan will be consuming your material. That's it. So it has shown steps. So all this you should know, right? This is the basics that they'll be asking in the client interactions, right? You should ask what is the requirements of the client. And there is one more thing that I already showed you, I guess. Hmm. Okay, I don't think that I have that. One second. You can ask your questions. I'll share some SOPs also that are given to the client based on the requirements. So they're custom, purely custom. That is why I need to check once. I have a particular file where I store all these SOPs. You can ask your doubts if you have any. Please feel free. I'll take 5-10 more minutes of your time. Then we can wind up the basic requirement gathering. You know about the questionnaires by now. You know what are the basic terminologies, what you need to ask the client, what is EPC, right? And in the support, it will also come hand in support. Okay. And one thing I want to tell you was this, that I gave you the sessions on roles and authorizations. So this is also one thing, right? So if you know about roles and authorizations, what will happen, right? When you go to the organization, they'll be like, we have a buyer, we have a store in charge, or we have some people that are looking after our just the quality part, or we have some chemist, right? My client has chemists also. So how am I doing this? I understood the basic requirements of my client. Then then we prepared their as is, then we prepared their to be. So I'll share the as is to be, then we'll uh, come to the next step. So this is one SOP. One second. This is one SOP. This is called the gate pass reconciliation report, right? So we created one gate pass. So I think this is not the right report. One second. Okay, this is the report. Physical inventory gate pass. Okay, this is the create gate pass. So one second. We have, yeah. So what our client did was, I gave you the initial. I gave you this topic. So the initial requirement of client was that we have one delivery system, right? So they have they are the PSU, right? As I told, they are the third largest power generation company all over India, and one of the most permanent PSUs. So what they do is they have a thing called gate pass. So gate pass is nothing but a pass that is needed by the vendor for two types of gate passes. One is returnable gate pass and one is non-returnable gate pass. So returnable gate passes, let's say you are having a item for the subcontracting, right? Subcontracting means you are getting it refurbished. You have a damaged, let's say you have a Bajaj scooter, old scooters are there for Bajaj, or you have a classic ambassador car, right? Now that car is needed to be replaced. How will you do it? You'll hire a external vendor. You'll find a garage that is suits right to your fit of the car, right? Then you'll give them the car. You'll ask the vendor to come and take the car or whatever, however you gave it. Then this vendor will come and they'll take they'll take your car. They'll repair or replace the parts, then send it back. So this is a part of this is the part of your non-returnable gate, sorry, returnable gate pass. So non-returnable gate pass includes the vendor returns, right? 122 when you return to the vendor, the 261, right? When you consume, let's say, so we have given 261 and 201 because we had some parts that were consumed, like uh, like the light bulbs. So what they did was they consumed the light bulbs when they kept in inventory, and when the time came they consumed it, and after that, after some time like 6 7 months, the bulbs got fused. So we created a replacement valuation type as a replacement with zero value, uploaded the inventory with 501 movement type, and gave it back to the vendor. So 201 also we needed to include. That is some special case for a client. So client, whenever the client requires something, we document it. So all this is documented, right, in a particular document with the change request or the service request. So this was the change request only. This was initial request. It was not a change request. It was initial implementation request that they needed a gate pass, right? So this is a, as you can see, the purpose. So this gate pass is required for material movement from one plant to another plant or metal transfer to a subcontractor. So they have CSIF. So CSIF. These persons are there. They'll check every. They're on their payroll, right? They have hired, since they're prominent government organization. They've hired. So in cases of like a war, right, a nuclear war or any war with another country, whatever the circumstances are, the enemy countries always try to attack. First, they will try to attack the roads, then they'll attack the power units, power generation companies, right? So if you cut the power, you'll have no supply to the internet. If you don't have a supply to internet, you will not have the access to the satellites, right? So this is the one of the tactics that every company use, sorry, every country use, enemy countries. In the recent events, you might also see. So what they do is they have security forces, right? In cases of this security, what they'll do is they'll check one gate pass. So gate pass will have document. It will have a separate print, and it has some separate requirements. So I'll explain short close one. I'll also explain one story, that how we came to the short close part, right? So just remind me if I don't do this. Okay. So first, we'll go to manage gate pass. This is a custom application in our system. We took the help from ABAP team to develop this custom gate pass. Then in the search bar, if we search this, we'll have different radio buttons, right? When I told about equipment number, I told that they are capital goods, right? Capital goods are nothing but your assets only. So in case of assets, in case if you want to replace a computer, right? Let's say your computer screen got broke, or your CPU got overheat and the IC got broke. So how will you do? So you will send it via the equipment number. So we have made mandatory to link the asset codes while procurement with the equipment number. Then we send it back. So this is one of the client requirement. That is why I'm telling you guys. So we are not explaining equipment number right now, but we'll explain the metal gate pass only. Okay, so equipment will be only non-returnable only, because equipments are never be like they'll not be left out, right? They will always be returnable. Okay, so now let's create the gate pass. So the gate pass, they'll have the particular indicator, right? So what is the gate pass? Returnable or non-returnable? The returnable which will come back, non-returnable will not come back. The gate pass category will be there, right? So we'll fill the external, internal, all these gate pass category. So external means it is going outside. Internal means from one plant to other plant. will transfer, and then we'll use internal like the STO process, right? We don't use STO, we use 301, so it doesn't work for us. But yes, external we 90% cases use external, right? For the category, we'll use the receiving location, the plant location, the store location. Then this is automatically filled. Whatever we are using, it will automatically filled. Then comes our mode of transport. So mode of transport will be your by hand or by vehicle. Then the vehicle number or whatever. So some Avinash Mishra logistics guy was transporting, and this was our vendor, subcontracting vendor, who was transferring. So we wrote in the text, right? We have created a separate report. So if we put our purchase order number, right, PO date and PO number will be there. So this is just for the purposes of better understanding. So this will be also stored somewhere. I'll show you how the logic is built. I have not shown you how the logic is built yet, so you don't need to worry about that. But yes, this will include basic logic building and the how the SAP table works, right? So this is the expected return date. So this is mandatory. We made it mandatory in the code. So we designed the entire screen. We gave some functional specifications to the technical team, right? FS is given for all these. I don't have that FS right now. I cannot pick all the documents from my system. So this is one thing. Yeah. So if we save, so when we save, what will happen? We can change the gate pass, right? So when we go to change, we can enter the main gate, the CSF gate entry, then metal gate. So there are different gates. I told you about the central store, right? We have a thing called central store. So central store will have different sheds. So the store shed number, the main central store number, and the main gate number, all these will be CISF controlled. Then you will have the uh, dates, right? All these gates will have some date entries. So this requirement was given by client, so we needed to incorporate all these. Then when we go and save, you'll have all these entries, right? So if you go and print, what will happen? So the print will come like this. Once again, we gave a custom print. So this is my client's print preview, the gate copy, the GST number, and the signature. So let me zoom in a little. So they will have the material, right? This is the gate pass copy. So this is the date when it created, 30th Jan. So what happens with the material code? It is going outside for the vehicle number, for the reason, right? Everything is needed to be there. Then there is security guard, signature 1 security guard, signature 2 the transporter, signature 3 the recipient. Then the issuing person. So in our case, there are 3 issuing persons: the junior engineer of store, the assistant engineer of store, and their store in charge, the executive engineer of store. So they will sign, right? This was the print, and they'll upload. They will go back to the change. They'll upload it here, right? They will upload, and that's it, right? And if they want to cancel, they want to cancel. How will they do? They'll they'll use this deletion indicator. So we have given this deletion indicator right here for cancellation. So this is the basics of the gate pass. Yeah. Then comes the short close. So short close means, let's say, so all this was the foolproof system. Now when we were explaining it to the client, right, every requirement was given, finalized, and it was moved to the quality system. So while we we're demonstrating to the client came with the absurd logic. Let's say the vendor came at 5 like 4:50 p.m. So the central store gets closed at 5 p.m. We have 10 minutes, we can easily take out the item. Now suddenly the tire gets flat, right? So the tire can get flat, or the rain came, right? And due to corrosion and all these, they will not bring out the material in rain, or uh, let's say something broke off, or they are not getting entry, or as soon as the vendor came, the somebody is not there, some person, CSF guard, or all these so what they will do is they will not issue the same on the same date, they will make another gate pass. So that is why, uh, okay, so that is why we gave the deletion indicator, one thing. Then the short close, right? So for the short close, what they told is, let's say I have given 4 materials for repairing or the refurbishment process. Now we are not getting those material back. Let's say there is a case of overconsumption in the subcontractor process. So you know, underconsumption, overconsumption. So I gave 4 materials. Now I'm only getting 1 material back. The three got rusted, or uh, let's say there's a gear mechanism, right? You know, gears. So the teeth the teeth on the gears of the bike, or whatever motor or whatever turbine is there, they get in the wear and tear, they get damaged. So when they are damaged, so what will happen, you'll need to do short close, right? You'll need to leave it there, you'll need to make a sales order. It is the profit of the company, so you'll leave it just there. So in this case, we'll get the short close for the gate pass, right? Supplies provided to the vendor will not be returned due to some settlement. So we'll put the short close indicator tick here, and that's it. Short close is done. So these are the questions that are asked. So even I was shocked, like, what logic are they using? But he was right. He was right in the business terms. I wasn't expecting that because I'm not the part of their business. I am just a consultant, and I can give the best solution that based on the situation that arise. So the basics of this thing is that you need to sit with the client, discuss everything, and they ask for a report, right? They ask for a monitoring report that the open gate pass. If you don't take this, there will be no nothing will be reflected. So for plant, whichever we did, they have given one tick, right? So on tick, we'll check the send quantity, receive quantity, right? We'll have the short closing indicators, the CSF gates, the plants. So all these will be downloaded into Excel. So these are some things that we gave it to our client based on the requirements that they put us with. So you're getting my point, right? So for the basics of the requirement gathering, you need to get in touch with the client. The core team will be there. So the core team will guide you through all these requirements gathering. Then you will be needing to provide solution by solution, analyze the problem, provide solution by solution, and design the requirement gathering for the client. I think that's it for the today's session. If you guys have any doubts, please ask. I'll stop the recording.